Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Rich T Racing, and welcome to the third time I've tried to bloody film this video. If you have been following me on Facebook or the various social media platforms, you'd know that I've tried to film a 2022 season review video about 3 times now, and every single time I've done it, the GoPro has decided to stop recording video at some point or another. So I'll be honest, if this doesn't record properly, I'm probably gonna just abandon the whole idea, because if it doesn't want to play ball, it doesn't want to play ball. Fair play. What can you do about that? But yeah, here we are, about 2 weeks later than when I actually wanted this video to come out. We are here talking about my 2022 season in Club 100 racing. This year I competed in the Endurance Championship and the SP60 Championship, as I did in 2021. I have to be very careful not to say last year, because we are in 2023 now, hence why I'm really annoyed I have to film this at this point. I wanted to film it at the end of last year, but there we go. But yeah, here we go. We're going to talk about the Endurance first, and then we'll go into the SP60. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. The Endurance Championship. The championship I was always meant to be in. I've mentioned that loads on the channel. I'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, championship I was always meant to be in. Racing with my mates once again, Jasper and Tom. The Three Swans is our name. Also in partnership with Slow Coach Racing, with another chap who we did Swansea University with. That's where the name The Three Swans comes from. But yeah, Slow Coach Racing, Adam Pugh, who raced for us this year as well, and also a chap called Simon Withers, who raced with us at Swansea. We saw him at the BUKC finals weekend in April, and we said to him, you know what, if you want to come do some Club 100 endurance racing, you're more than welcome to. And he came along and did it with us at the final round at Buckmore. And yeah, that is really like the headlines go into it. We obviously won the intermediate championship in 2021, beating Brilio by I think 20 points in the end, and that is quite a big margin when you consider there's 5 points between positions on the grid. So we entered into the Clubman Championship for this year, and it started off brilliantly because we won at Buckmore. We came 5th overall. I'd qualified as 11th, and bear in mind that I am probably, being honest, on the day I was possibly the slowest of the 3 of us. Sorry, the sun's just blinding me at the minute, so let me just try and adjust a bit. Well, get on with it. Yeah, considering I was possibly like me and Tom I think were on the same pace, but Jasper was electric that day, and when he's on form, he is brilliant, and that's what works so well about the 3 of us as a team. We're very consistent, we understand each other very well, and we know each other's strengths, and we play off that. So Buckmore just went to perfection. Everything about it was perfect. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect, down to the last minute detail. And we thought we were going to go on, like, potentially for another championship charge. We felt good. And then Wilton Mill happened. And if you have seen the video title, I think it was originally titled I Ruined a Karting Race. I have changed it now, but the thumbnail remains, etc. You'd know all about that. Basically, after qualifying, which I had done, I then rushed to try and get the GoPro, which had been charging. Oh, great, Dad's doing fantastic. Had to get the leaf blower out here, didn't I? Didn't he? Brilliant. Right, we're just gonna have to put up with that. What was I saying? Yes. So I'd done qualifying. I'd left the GoPro on charge after the SP60 in the morning, and basically I was rushing about trying to get that sorted. Car was locked, had to unlock the car, go back forth, and then I had to got the GoPro, got it what I could, and then I had to get ready and everyone was sat down in the cart. It was literally a nightmare happening, because I don't know about anyone else watching this, but one of the most recurring nightmares I have is related to karting. Normally it's about, can I actually get to a karting race, or am I actually going karting, sort of thing. But this was just like, oh my god, this is actually real, sort of thing. So yeah, so that wasn't great. And then when I put my balaclava on, because mention these as well, this obviously I mentioned them, the radios. If you're watching this and you're getting into the endurance series for next year, invest in some radios, because they are brilliant. They work so well when you can get them all to sync, etc. It makes life so much easier. You can't argue with it. So that they are brilliant, but then what I hadn't factored in on that day is actually how finicky they can be to get on. And I remember putting my balaclava on, and the earpieces were down there, the mic was like somewhere down towards my crotch, the balaclava was halfway over my face, I didn't have my gloves on. It was arguably the worst moment of the year, definitely the worst moment of the year, quite possibly the worst moment of my karting career. We're talking a 10-year career at this point. So yeah, not good at all. I've ruined so many races as well. I was out of position. I've tried to send it down the inside of the reverse Lesmos. It was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. And we still ended up coming 19th. This was the thing. If all of that hadn't happened, we might have ended up in a top 10 position. Went really well. And that sort of summed up the rest of the season, really. GYG, we didn't do anything wrong, but the kart wasn't really very good. Bayford, we were going great guns. We were really going well. I then crashed into the pit lane. Another very embarrassing moment. And then we had a couple of races out because of finance reasons and availability. I suppose the two go hand in hand. We came back at Gandau, or me and Jasper came back at Gandau. Oh, actually, no, sorry, Clay. I haven't even talked about Clay. That was me and Adam, because Jasper and Tom couldn't do it. So I drafted Adam in from Slow Coach. Adam put us on pole, P5, amazing. He got a stonking lap at the start, and we were going great guns. We were down to 4th after the first pit stops, and then Adam got given a black flag, which was arguably the worst black flag I've ever seen, allegedly for ABC bump and pass. I remember watching this event. Adam was obviously in the kart. The GoPro was running at the time. How we got a black flag for that, I don't know. But I'm not gonna, as I said at the time, I am not going to be one of those people who sits here on videos slagging off the marshals, etc. This is not, as I said at the time, this is not professional karting. This is based on a person's viewpoint at that time. It's their judgment call, and it happens. It's still a really bad call, don't get me wrong, but you can't, like, it's human error. It's human error. Shit happens. Get on with it. Next. So yeah, anyway, that happened. Very frustrating. Coming on to Gandau, that was great. It was me and Jasper. We came second. And that was one of only the 3 races where nothing really went wrong. And then obviously Buckmore was one, GYG was the other, apart from the kart being dodgy. We didn't actually do anything wrong that day. And then Gandau. So the two of the 3 races where nothing went wrong, we came 1st and 2nd in class. So that, I think, shows the potential of the 3 Swans. And at the second Wilton, we had it was such a good day. It was such a good endurance race. When had our fuel line not come off, in the first instance, we would have definitely been on for a top 10 overall, maybe a podium, who knows. So there was that, and even after that, we were just having so much fun fighting back through the field. We were staying at Jasper's house, his new house that he's got. It was going to be, we were on for a great one. If we'd have come, we were on course potentially for a top 15 overall, and it'd be like, oh my god, if we've had a fuel line come off and lost a minute, and we come top 15, holy shit, that's amazing. It came off again and we finished 29th or something. So yeah, bad day at the office, that. And then the final one at Buckmore, that's when we drafted Simon in, because Tom couldn't do it. So it was me, Jasper, Simon. Jasper put us 2nd on the grid, but that became pole for the Clubmans, that is, when Sergio Vamos got disqualified. They're really fast, by the way. They need to be a Premier team next year, I swear to God. Yeah, they got disqualified for being underweight, and we knew that Jasper was 84.5, but we took the risk, and I think we would have got away with it had Jasper not driven really fast into the pit lane under the nose of a marshal. Marshal goes and has a word with him and says, let's get you on the scales real quick. And 84.5, and we were disqualified. And I could harp on a load about how good Simon was on his debut. Obviously never done endurance racing before, hasn't done much Club 100 compared to us lot. I could talk about how great it was hunting down Conman for me in my final stint, but at the end of the day we got disqualified and there we go. I think we came, I don't even know where we came in the championship. We were P15 or something, so not great by any means at all. But the main thing with the endurance is that those rounds where nothing went wrong, where no stupid mistakes happened, where no fuel lines came off, again, with the exception of GYG, we came P1 and P2 in the clubman class. So whilst next year, I'm not going to talk about next year in this video, I'll save that for another one. But whilst, what was I going to say? Yeah, we're only doing 5 rounds next year, possibly 6. I think if we nail it, we can score more points than what we did this year. I think that has to be our objective, and I think we can finish higher than what we did this year. And then maybe in 2024 we can come back as a sort of a more put together a proper clubman championship challenge, because I genuinely believe we can do it. I genuinely believe we can, but we didn't this year. It was what it was, and no championship trophy for us. So that's the endurance. Let's talk about the SP60 now, the one that I wasn't meant to be in, which I've obviously spoken about loads. So you can imagine my surprise when, just last week, I picked up this bad boy. The latest addition to the trophy haul, my 2nd championship trophy. In fact, I tell a lie, my 3rd. Do you know what? Actually, you know what? Hang on about, ladies and gentlemen. Hang about. Let's do it. Let's get the 51. Talk about that in a second. Shit. Let's just bask in some glory for a second. Bit of me time, even though that is what this ultimately is. I'm gonna talk about. Yeah. So obviously, as you can tell, I won this year's championship. I'm not gonna build up massively, because if you follow me, but the people watching this video at this stage will be the people that know me and follow me. Obviously, we won the championship. A championship I was never meant to be in the first place. How did we go about winning? And also, point out as well, won the championship as number 51. My racing number, I had to do a fair bit of negotiation, or I had to sweat a little bit at the start of the year to get 51. Fortunately, no one had been allocated it, so I was able to pick it up, and it will be my number for next year, hence why I still have the number plate. I also have one up there as well, but that's got a story to it. So how did we get here? So obviously I didn't do Buckmore. Alex Pritchard was a super heavyweight at that time. He won Buckmore, and I then eventually got a phone call to say that, oh, James, we can get you in for Wilton, the first one, and Lyd. So I thought, all right, sod it, we'll do it. And I rocked up to Wilton, having obviously only... I'd been there 4 times and had 4 second places, never won. And I looked at the list going in, and Alex was there, as was Lee Henderson, who cannot be discounted at any point. So I was very much. I went in thinking, right, it's gonna be another second place, because Alex is a fantastic driver. He's a brilliant driver, and it's gonna take a lot for me to beat him. You can imagine my surprise then when in qualifying I qualified at P6 and Alex was down in P15, and I looked at it and thought, hang on a second. And that weekend showed, I don't know whether it's because there were a lot of new people on the grid, hence why I hadn't been able to get into the championship, hence why a lot of people hadn't been able to get into the SP60. But I was really competitive that weekend. I was running P6 for the majority of it, and P5, in fact. I was having a good race with Carolis, who's new to the championship as far as I'm aware, and he's a very good driver as well. So I was really surprised by my competitiveness at Wilton, but unfortunately Alex did get me. We then had a race of champions. It's on the channel. I'm really happy I got that video out on the channel, because it's such good racing. But unfortunately I just couldn't quite keep up. I made a few mistakes in race 2, and I came home with a 4th second place. Was it 4th? Yeah, 4th second place at Wilton Mill. However, that would, as you can quite clearly see, that would be the only second place I'd take that year, because I'd basically go on to take 7, I'd win all of the remaining 7 rounds that I'd ultimately end up doing. As the year went on, I just kept getting phone calls saying, oh yeah, we can get you in for this one, get you in for that one. And by the end of it, I put together an 8-round championship out of 11. 8 rounds, obviously, is the minimum to count towards, maximum to count towards your championship tally. You can drop 6 races through the year. So we got to GYG, my favourite track on the Club 100 calendar. Alex had dropped out of the super heavyweights back into the heavyweights, and I was like, okay, interesting. However, that round, my old nemesis Richard Newton had made a return, and I was very much looking forward to having Richard back. We had a brilliant battle in race 1, but race 2, I put the afterburners on a bit, and then went on. I had race 2 SP60 GYG was one of the best races of the year. I just calculated it really, really well. I was behind all the heavyweights, and I looked at them and I thought, you lot are all fighting each other. I'm just going to hang back and wait for the opportunities, which is sort of a factor of my racing. It's something I probably need to work out of my racing. Just be like, no, sod it, I need to go for it. But it really worked out to the best. I overtook Dickie Allen, which was a moment, and I won my first and so far only Driver of the Day award. Look at that. I love this trophy. I really, really do. And I was really happy to get that. So that was brilliant. And then we got to Bayford. And at this point, this is when... Now, I need to be really careful how I say this, because I don't want to come across like a cock. I know I come across as a cock anyway, but I really want to make sure that I say this correctly. There was no Richard Newton, there was no Alex Pritchard, there was no Lee Henderson, who had dropped out of the championship entirely. And I'd qualified at P10, and I think the next super heavyweight was down in like 26th or something. And I remember thinking, well, I was like, all I need to do to win this today is just go through my normal process, go do what I do normally. And that is ultimately what happened. It's why the videos for this year stopped. It's because I'd sorted everything out for it, and I was going to start editing it. I looked at it and thought, you know what, there's just really nothing that happens here. I defend against some heavyweights. That's it. I got a lecture from Tim Hill. That was it. So I remember thinking like, this is just a bit. There's just no competition here. There's just nothing here for me, and I know how that sounds. I know how this must be coming across. And again, I really don't want it to be that way. But there just wasn't that much competition. It's sort of like and particularly with then the crash and the endurance afterwards. I was a bit like, great, okay, well, we'll just carry on, I suppose. And I did contemplate at Lid not doing qualifying, thinking, you know what, based on Bayford, based on how everything else has gone, based on everything, am I gonna could I make it a bit more entertaining for myself if I don't qualify? I've got to go from the back and try and win it. But I thought, no, that's so disrespectful. And as my mate Tom said to me, he said to me at the time, don't do that, you silly bastard. Race. Score as many points as you can. Go out and do it for yourself. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. As it turns out, at Lid, I was shocking. I was absolutely shocking. My qualifying was rubbish. My race 1 was rubbish. And Jamie Garside had put a decent amount of positions between him and me. And I looked at it and thought, oh, hang on. And I was like, right, going into that race 2, I was like, right, here we go. I've got to fight for this. I've really got to fight for this. And I am at my most dangerous when I have had like 2 races, qualifying in a race 1 that hasn't gone well, but I've got race 2 to try and make up for it. That's when I'm in my most dangerous place. That's where like there's something clicks in here. And fortunately, I got one of the best karts of the year in that second race. And my attitude going into it was like, right, I think I was 18th and Jamie was 14th. So, he was 15th. So there were 3 places between me and him. But obviously on the grid, you've got 17th next to me. I'm here. 17th is here. 16th's there. Jamie's there. And I thought, right, Lid goes right and then left. If I can push 16th as much as possible, I could be alongside Jamie into the left-hander. Then I can squeeze him and get into first. That was the plan. I had to go aggressive, and that's what I did, and it worked. I was like, here we go then, here we bloody go. And as the race went on, I kept gaining places, and I had a brilliant battle with Tim Williams. I was trying some new things in the kart that I had been advised by Stephen Jennings about, and it was working. Whereas I'd been driving so badly in race 1, race 2 just went spectacularly, and I think I ended up putting 6 positions between me and Jamie, who is, by the way, he's brilliant at lid. That's his specialty, and I won the race. And that was, I think, the best winner's trophy of the year, because I was up against it, having gone in with a bit of a cocky attitude, a bit of an arrogant attitude. I then got put in my place and had to fight to get out of it, and I was really, really happy with that. And then we moved on to Rye, and Rye House is not a track that I enjoy. It's not a place that I enjoy, to be honest. It's probably my least favourite in all regards on the calendar. Yet somehow, this is where I pull the best results of my life out of. Qualifying didn't go well. Race 1, I mean, it went well, but I also executed someone entirely. Should have got a 6th place grid deduction, and didn't. No one saw it. It was a complete takeout, and no, I got away with it. And it's one of those things like that again, human error. It's down to the people watching it. These things happen, sort of thing. But yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, so I'd gone through that. I think I was relatively assured of the SHW victory. I was in. I can't remember where I was. But I got this kart underneath me, and it was so good. It had everything. It had grip. It had power. And I remember after the start, I got brilliant starts at Rye, by the way. After the start, I was behind Carl Badger Walker and 3 other people, and I felt this thing burbling underneath me, and I thought, this is good. This is really good. Whereas like on a straight, as a super heavyweight, you'd expect everyone to drive away from you. People weren't driving away from me. I was gaining on them. So I don't know whether it was other karts being down on power, or mine was just so super powered. I don't know. I'm going to go with the latter. I was making these moves down the straights. I did a double overtake on the 2 people directly behind Kyle, and then I was behind Kyle, and he gave me the secret special signal saying, "Come on, let's go." I was like, "Kyle, you're doing brilliantly." I'll actually just say as well, touch on that. Carl Badger Walker, I think for me is one of the drivers of the season for the SP60. He wasn't really anywhere at the start of the year, but come the end of the year, he was like he won at Ella, which is amazing considering that like Anwar won pretty much every round this year. I think who else? What's his name? Dan Brewer would be winning stuff. So for Carl to get in there was pretty damn good. Andrew O'Neill, Andrew Hall Jr., those guys was like, wow, for him to win at Elo, brilliant. But I remember I saw Carl do that, and I just remember thinking, Carl, I understand your argument. So you've raised some really good points, but my kart's a fucking rocket, mate. And I steamed it down the inside of him into turn 1, like a couple of laps after the double overtake, and he was trying to fight through, and I was like, no, start off. Basically, I didn't do that, but that's how it was in my head. I was like, what are you doing? Back off. And then I went and chased after the leaders, and I couldn't believe what was happening. I could see Anwar, Alex, Andrew O'Neill, and Andrew Hall Jr. in front of me. Some of the best SP60 heavyweight drivers out there, you'd have to say. And I was pulling them in, and I was like, how is this happening? And what I took, I overtook Andrew Hall Jr., and I came 4th. And it's the best result of my SP60 career. So close to an actual podium in a race. And I remember thinking that, what I took away from it was like, okay, I didn't need to do that, but I went and did it. And what I was most encouraged by was the fact that in a kart that had clearly was a rocket, I was able to still keep up with everyone. Obviously, my cornering speeds, what I was doing through the corners was working. It was decent. It was good. It was good enough to keep up with the leaders in a rocket, and it's down the straights now and out of the slow corners that I struggle, being a heavier lad. And I just took great comfort in that, showing like, look, if I was able to lose like 5-10 kilos and be an absolute machine, I could be up there with these guys. And that's my objective really for 2023, to be more up there with the big guns really. And the reason I mentioned 2023 now, not launching into Handau, Wilton, Buckmore, is really there's not much to talk about those ones. Handau, easy win. had a good fight with Alex Pritchard. He went through a corner amazingly. Wilton finally took the race victory. That was a great day. Had a brilliant battle with Tim Williams, and Buckmore was an absolute shit show, quite frankly, and I was really disappointed by that. It was my worst weekend points-wise of the year. But I still won, and that sort of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. So I kind of, even when I have an absolute shocker, I still end up taking a victory. But that was ultimately my SP60 story. That's my SP60 2022, and that's how I end up with this absolute gorgeous thing. I mean, look at it; it's gold, for Christ's sake. And obviously did the awards dinner last Saturday, and that was a great evening. That really was. In fact, I've got some footage of that which I will show to you now.
No, you don't have to. I can hold it. You can if you like.
Congratulations, third place, 27th overall, Picture. We're going to move on to our championship champion. Then, ladies and gentlemen, 12th overall champion of SP60 Super Heavyweights 2022 goes to James Karting.
To be honest, I haven't actually watched the footage, so if that was crap, I apologise. But yeah, that was the SP60 in 2022. Again, a brilliant. I know. I've talked about, like, obviously there being a bit of there being lack of competition through the year. Again, I can have a stinker at Buckmore and still win. But what the main thing I took away from it, and this sort of goes back to what Tom told me ahead of Lid, about, like, what do you mean you're not going to do qualifying? Do qualifying, race to your best, show what you can do. This year, just doing 8 rounds, last year I did 8 rounds, the year before I did 10. I beat my 2021 total by something like 45 points and was so close to a top 10 overall and 600 points. That was my objective, really. And I only took 2 penalty places. I only got 2 positions worth of penalties, and that was at race 1 when I hit 2 suspect cone penalties, basically. So it just shows that through the year, my level of consistency, my ability within the kart has come along a long way. And for the first 5 results of the year, I was top 10 every time. And I think my worst result of the year was at Lid, where and I think it was 20th in the end. I know I said I was 18th or something, or 16th, maybe not quite. But I think it was 20th at Lid. So still top 20s across the whole year were my counted results, which is what happened in 2021 as well. But just scored so much more points, loads of top 10s, and that's the bit I take mainly away from it, is just how much better I performed in 2022 versus 2021. And now I've got 2 championship trophies to show for it. So yeah, there we go. Those are my closing thoughts on the SP60, on everything really to do with 2022. I hope you enjoyed me through 2022. I know I didn't post as much on the channel as compared to 2021. I'm a very busy person at work. I've no idea how much I'm going to be able to do in 2023. I'll talk all about that though in my 2023 season preview, which will be coming out. I'm going skiing next week, so I'll probably say that will be out in February, ahead of the first round of the year, which will be at Buckmore, of course. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. If you are for some reason still watching and you're not subscribed to the channel and you enjoy my ramblings, you enjoy my Club 100 content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell for notifications so that you know when a new edition of Rich T Racing comes out. But for now, all I'm going to say is ta-ta and farewell. Ugh.